Hello, my name is Shatisha James, and this is Reflection 8 of what I have learned from this chapter, what I've learned in my course about child welfare and child abuse. Okay, so some of the key points that I learned listening to the video for this week is family should be supported, not just investigated. Um, the child welfare system was created to help families, to prevent future child welfare involvement, to better children's futures. So in order to do that, you have to look at the family holistically. And in order to get information even about the family, you have to treat the family like humans. So that means practicing cultural humility and learning about the family in general. What caused them to be like this? How did this happen? History, generational traumas, all that different type of stuff is really important, even when investigating families for suspected abuse or neglect, So this will help us provide better services for those families if we let those families guide us. And then that goes into the next point. It's a family-centered practice. You have to partner with families. You cannot be a teacher. You have to be a student, as well as be a sort of a guidance for these families, because they don't know what they haven't learned. But we can't seem like we're forcing it on them. And this aligns with our textbook that we've learned all along. All throughout all of our courses in the program. But family preservation is the goal, reunification, and we get that by recognizing the family's strengths and building up on that. No matter what anybody has went through, they have strengths, whether they know it or not. So that means collaboration is very important, and you cannot have collaboration without mutual respect. And that requires treating these people with dignity, no matter who they are, what the circumstances are. We need other service providers such as mental health, child welfare, substance abuse workers. The schools are very important, healthcare, and even community organizations. A lot of families suffer because they don't know the resources that are available to them. And child welfare is kind of like a glue for that. It's kind of a hub leading them to the right places to get the help that they need for them. So that comes back to like multidisciplinary teams meeting and discussing what services clients need, what's working, what's not working, team meetings, treatment team meetings between different service providers, so we know how to help the people and make sure that the people know how to help themselves. So that requires teamwork on everyone's part. Focusing on prevention can be more effective than crisis intervention. Basically, if we can prevent it from happening, if we can create a community where people know the resources available to them, such as therapy, daycare, health, and different stuff like that, that could prevent the crisis from happening in the first place. Because if we wait for a crisis to happen, we're going in strong. These people are already going through what they're going through. They're having a tough time, and they're looking at child welfare as the enemy. And no one wants to work with the enemy if they feel like someone is judging them or taking their children away from them. So prevention and a better system in the first place can help prevent crisis in general. Okay. And then getting to the bottom of the root causes. Like I stated earlier, there's numerous reasons that families go through what they go through and how they parent their kids and not taking them to doctor's appointment. They didn't grow up with their parents taking them to doctor's appointments for whatever reason. They had a parent that worked all the time, so the parents only took the kids to the doctor when it was required by school. So this family who's never really went to the doctor, they grow up raising their kids the same way. Well, we went to the doctor once a year, or if the school required it. So they're not thinking of, kids may need a specialist, or kids may have allergies, or, for example, me growing up, my parents didn't really take us to the doctor. They gave us some Tylenol, ibuprofen, or ginger ale, and then told us to go sit down. This is not necessarily the right thing to do, but it's not necessarily the wrong thing to do. But that's how they were taught. They couldn't afford to go to the doctor when they were young, so they passed it on down to our family practices. So getting to the cause can help a lot with the future. We should always recognize family strengths. That was an important part of the video. One of the parents said that he felt like he was judged. He felt like he was the bad guy, that he didn't have any say-so over his own kid. So I feel like if they would have included him more in the decision-making and let him guide them and make him feel more respected, then it could have went better. And that's another good thing about the video is that he talked about his experience. So, but we always have to keep in mind that child safety is the priority. As much as we want to preserve families, we cannot always do that. That is always the goal, but we cannot always do that. So that's definitely something to think about. So I feel like the next steps in child welfare, that's a hard one. Because I feel like the world is becoming more aware of mental health and trauma. And this can be a good and bad thing. Everyone doesn't have the resources to address the trauma that they've been through, so they don't address it. But people are more aware of it. And I feel like that is a good thing that could prevent abuse, neglect, and trauma. But most of the root causes include poverty and substance use, domestic violence, and mental health issues. Those are the biggest causes of, those traumas. So in order to prevent those, that has to be addressed. On the macro level, we have to have better policies. We have to have better laws in place. We need more advocates in the bigger spaces, especially for Oklahoma in general. I mean, we have a high rate of domestic violence. A lot of women getting killed by their partners. It's not taken as serious as it should be. So collaboration between child welfare agencies, healthcare providers, schools, community organizations, mental health professionals, all of those things working together can provide a network of support for the people in whatever community. Because we can't help what we don't see. And the sad part about it is that we don't see it until it's too late. So if we are proactive in our communities and making ourselves known, whatever entity that is, let us know that we provide the support, like mental health facilities and stuff like that. We have to put it out there that it's available to prevent trauma in the first place. And then family support services. Parent education is very needed. There's not a handbook on how to be a parent. There's no one way to do it, but parenting courses being offered could be a big help for some families. We have to have access to substance use treatments. Housing assistance is a big thing, employment and resources, especially for small town communities like mine in Okmulgee. We have the jobs, but they don't pay well. It's not enough for a person to take care of themselves. So it's easier for a person to, live with someone else and not work and just take what they can get. But those resources have to be available for them to take advantage of it, So that's some of the key steps that can help the child welfare system in general and help the community as well. Our last question is, do you want to work in child welfare? If yes, in what roles? I do not want to work in child welfare. When I graduated in 2017, my first job after graduating in social work with an emphasis in child abuse, I went to Department of Human Services, and I worked in child welfare as a permanency planning worker. I was just 23 years old, no kids, fresh out of school, and I was intimidated. It was a big girl job, a big responsibility, and I had people's lives in my hands. The parents did not respect me. They looked at it as like, how old are you? Do you even have kids of your own? So that made it hard. I do feel like it toughened me up, and it gave me a look on the reality of my community. A lot of people were going through trauma that they didn't realize they were going through. They were dealing with that trauma unhealthily, and it was taking tolls on their families. So this job was very important to me. It took up a lot of my time. They stressed self-care and leaving it at work, but it was hard to leave it at work. It took a toll on my health. My vehicle, I drove all around the state of Oklahoma, visiting families and children. I seen a lot more cases fail than succeed. I was there 2 years, and I feel like only 2 of my families received reunification. So it was just like, as hard as I was working, I feel like I wasn't helping in that role. But I loved working with the families. I loved seeing them learn new skills. I loved seeing the children see their families. But it wasn't necessarily for me. I want to see the success, and I didn't necessarily want to see it that way. So now I still work with families at a Head Start, but in a different way. So it's more preventative to me. I'm helping them get the services they need before their children start school, making sure they're taking them to the doctor, referring them to services they need. So I'm more on the preventative side than the side after a crisis. So I do think that fits me more. And I am completing my practicum with Creotes Mental Health, which I also think would be good because I can help those clients that are dealing with child welfare get the services and the mental health services they need. I do love child welfare. I love what they stand for, and I appreciate all the work that they do. But it's not a job for me. So, well, thank you. And that is my reflection this week.